viewers. Thank you for joining us wherever you may be. We certainly do appreciate it. Tonight, as much as you know that I love having our female racers on, so we have one more with us. And she is from South Carolina. We have not interviewed anybody from there yet. And we have another Crown Vic racer, so this ought to be a good time. So without further ado, let's get her in here. Miss Manda Ledbetter. Manda, how are you tonight?
I'm doing great. Just coming in from a long day and getting wound down as it's getting close to bedtime for my old self. So
Yeah, I feel that. You know, when you're a kid, you always wanted to stay up late and try to stay up with the grown-ups, and now as the grown-ups, you're just begging your kids to go to bed so you can go to bed early.
definitely, it's a big night and day difference from life on the weekends to life during the week. Because a 4 a.m. wake up call during the week is my normal get up time, and I'm normally laid down, kind of relaxing by 9 o'clock, and I'm normally asleep by 9:30, 10 o'clock. So.
Sure. 100% can understand that. 100%. Well, tell us a little bit about you. You know, who you are, where you're from. I know I said South Carolina, but who you are, where you're from, what you race, what you do for a day job. Just kind of give us the whole rundown on you.
Definitely. So my name's Amanda Ledbetter, and I am a second generation racer. I currently am a trainer for a truck manufacturing company that builds vocational and on-highway trucks and specialty units. I cover the Southeast. I'm a Carolina born and bred kind of girl. I've been here my whole life, but traveled a lot through work and just pleasure, following racing series and things. But definitely got it kind of lucky here in the Carolinas. I am in the perfect location for dirt racing. So there's all kind of opportunities to be at a track on Friday and Saturday nights, just about every week from about the second week of March all the way to Thanksgiving weekend. We stay pretty rolling around here in the South, so kind of fortunate there. I love my job. Always had a passion for mechanics and how things work, and it just definitely fell in line that racing allowed me to do that and be a part of everything. So all my hobbies and my job and everything entwine somehow or another. But definitely great to be on here tonight, and looking forward to seeing where your podcast takes you to in the future.
Yeah, you and I both, man. This thing's it's been a rocket ship to climb onto and to try to figure out how to do. Like I was telling you before recording, I am by no means a professional podcaster, but it's been a lot of fun. But I'd love to ask. So you said second gen racer. So obviously you kind of grew up around the track. Then it seems, and it seems like dirt racing is your passion and your desire. But where does that come from, and where does that stem from?
So my dad actually was a drag racer before I was born. I am one of four kids. Well, actually, it's more than that now, but growing up till I was about 20, I had three older brothers and no younger sisters or no younger siblings. And then my parents had another girl and another boy. So my dad drag raced and thought that was the coolest thing, but he got into like automotive stuff, working in garages, and those guys had dirt cars. And he started taking me along with him. And I remember the first time on a half-mile track, I told myself at a very young age, I was probably about 7 years old, I said, I definitely want to race here one day. Now, unfortunately, I didn't get to run on the half mile. The track has now been pulled down to about 3/8, but but I still get to run there pretty regularly at 6 miles from my house. If I'm not at the track for some reason and they're practicing or racing, I can hear it. So that's pretty cool. Yeah, definitely. So it stemmed just from family taking me, letting me be a part of it, and then one day just blessing me with the opportunity into a cart. At one time, we had 8 carts. We ran some WKA races. I got to run Daytona one year. It was really fun. It was definitely a ordeal. I'll never forget. My dad's like, Daytona's no joke. I'm not gonna lie to you. We probably won't even make it. The second day, he said, but it's definitely experience. If you want to go, we'll go. We showed up with a box van and 2 carts with like 3 sets of tires and no extra engines, and flat got worn out, but we had a blast. So not many people can say they've been to Daytona and actually got to try to compete, but definitely was blessed there. And then years later, I moved up into a V8 car. And at the time, it was called a Thunder Bomber. Now, bombers may be different all over the U.S., but at the time, it was a economical way to get into a V8 car in the South. pretty much a stock 350 engine, a 2-barrel carburetor. You know, you had to run the 8.8 rear end with the stock axles, but you did run recaps. They were like Hoosier recaps and things at the time. So the Tau Cities got really popular around here, and they're still booming on Tau Cities and things. But then I took a hiatus. I really focused on my job. I made some life changes and things during those, typical 20s and things, just trying to figure out what life was about and how I could afford to race and be more competitive in racing and things. And when I landed my job in the truck manufacturing market, it definitely allowed me to set sail into that. And my other half gifted me a Crown Vic that my dad had crashed into a cow.
That's awesome.
So the whole deal with it is it got nicknamed Moo Thing, and that is on the front of my race suit, and I get asked a lot about that. So it's called Moo Thing Racing, and it's always a really cool story to tell people how I got started into Crown Vics with my dad crashing a car into a cow. And so obviously it totaled the car, but there was nothing other than the window busted out and one A-pillar kind of bent was wrong with the car. So it ran. It still had a half a tank of gas in it when we pulled it out of the weeds behind the house to start gutting it for the race car and things. But yeah, it's been a wild ride this far. So very blessed. I just turned 36 Sunday, so y'all can do the math quicker than I can. So roughly about 8 years up to 36, and that's how long I've been in and out of racing, or at least being at the track in some shape or form.
That's awesome. Okay, so you named your car off of something that happened to it, and I am in a similar situation right now. And there's a lot to unpack with everything you just said, and we're definitely going to dive deeper into some of that. But I can't glance over this. So I found pasta, like rigatoni noodles, in the rear end of my car, right? So I've been trying to think about what to name this car, and when you said Moo Thing, that is gold. I mean, that is awesome. But so I put it out there to social media and I was like, hey, what do you think I should name my car? You know, I found rigatoni noodles in it, so let's try to find some kind of play on pasta. And I've narrowed it down to two. So the rigatoni ripper, that's one of them. The rigatoni ripper, I really like that. But then also today, this post has been up for like 3 weeks now, and someone today said, name it rigatoni, but like make like the Tony like a Toni, like a female version of Tony. And I was like, dude, that's golden. So I'm in a similar boat where I'm trying to find a creative play on words for my dirt car.
Definitely, but you got to go one step further. You have to put what they call them, like an Easter egg, like on the Jeeps and stuff. So you have to
Yes.
put a rat on there with
You are
like a little chef's
you
something.
are so right. No, you are so right. That is genius actually. Oh, I love that. Oh, I love that. Okay, so the Thunder Bombers. I want to ask a question about that. So is that kind of like, I've never heard that up here in Kansas City, but I'm also very new to dirt racing as a whole. Is that like what would be like a hobby stock? So is it like a stock car? Is it like a Monte Carlo or a Camaro or stuff like that? But it's like a hobby stock kind of.
Yeah, so you would be more close to your hobby stock, maybe some street stock. I'd have to look back at the rules. It's been a long time since I've looked at kind of like some Midwestern rules and stuff. But basically, it's Monte Carlos, Malibu, cool spring cars, things like that. So they try to keep them stock, but now it's all like aluminum bodies. They run them topless at times, like they do the street stocks at Why Not for the Nationals and things. So it's become a big deal. They run for some big money, what we consider big money around here. It's nothing to see a couple $1,000 a win race on a random Saturday night, like a track that I'm running at this weekend. They're doing a Bomber War all this month for that class, and they were calling out some of the money, and like seventh place paid like $570 something dollars or something like
What?
that. I mean, it was like insane. Now, granted, they've announced that they had like 32 sponsors for this race so far. But yeah, I mean, it's very blessed. Like I said, some of the money around here is kind of junk. You hear people complaining about it, but when you really look at where the economy is and how hard it is to keep a racetrack open right now, especially with how negative impact social media can be and things with it, but we're definitely blessed. I even Crown Vics, I ran two last weekend for $1,000. For $1,000, I don't think there's been one weekend since July that there's not been $1,000 or more race for Crown Vic within a 2-hour ride of my house.
Wow. That's where. So I help out with a team who races B modifieds. I'm going to race E modifieds. It's like anywhere around us. I think 400 to win is about the best I've seen. Unless it's like a big show, like a memorial race or like some like really big deal. But it just feels like the modifieds isn't where it's at. But they're always doing something. I know what you're saying with the stock cars or hobby stocks, pure
Yeah.
stocks, any kind of stock car. It seems like there's always like, hey, 2,500 to win, or hey, 1,000 to win, or 1,500 to win. So maybe I'm just getting into the wrong class, but I've kind of fallen in love with my modifieds.
I don't know how popular series racing is, like all over, but it seems to be there's like a series for everything. And like right now, the open wheel mods are doing a little bit better than what they were. I remember years ago, first time I ever seen an open wheel mod was at Charlotte, and I was like, "What are these creatures with their wheels out?" Like I'd never seen, and I didn't understand why there was like 3 different classes of them because at that time I didn't know there was a difference between a regular and then like a center steer and like all
Yeah.
this crazy different things that I've never encountered being more of a stock car type person, and then obviously like the Lucas and Outlaw late model type fan. But yeah, that was pretty cool. But yeah, like right now they're really pulling that grassroots, the normal working man's ability and trying to put back into those drivers and the fans who come and show us support each week.
Well, that's really it. I mean, it's unfortunate to say, but that's what the sport needs, right? And I'm very new to dirt racing. Like back in April was the first time I'd ever even been to a dirt track. But I've loved racing my whole life, but I've just never been around dirt racing. I mean, I'm from Colorado and originally now I'm in Kansas City, but in Colorado, like dirt racing, I'd never even heard of a dirt track really. But the sport as a whole, like even NASCAR, going from where NASCAR was way back in the day to where it is now, or from what it seems like, and this is again just what it seems like to me in the status of the small town racing, like racetracks are shutting down left, right, and center, and it's unfortunate, but it's exactly right. It's too expensive to get into. Like I'm learning that right now, and they have to try to find some way to reinvest the money back into the sport to try to revitalize it and try to keep people coming back to the track. And I don't know, it's the passion is really really strong with the grassroots community, but it's I don't we got to find some way to get more people into it, right?
Definitely. The best thing to do is definitely involve the next generation. So if you have access in a safe way, for kids, it's a great way. And a lot of times kids get in free or for like $5. Where in the world can you take kids with a cooler full of drinks and snacks in a bag, not have to pay extra money for it and then take them somewhere and let them sit around? And most of the time, you don't have to make them sit still. There's many a times when I'm going out for like a hot lap or, a heat race and things, the kids are in a safer spot, but they're kind of where the parents can see them. They're either behind the bleachers or down like at the other end of the bleachers and things, and they're tossing balls and they're playing with their checker flags, or some of these kids have some legit flags, like they're really nice setups, and they'll be flagging right along with everybody, or they're really paying attention. It's pretty cool to see the kids get out and get involved. Like if they come up, I let them crawl in the car. I'm like, hey, can you reach for this? Can you grab me a screwdriver? I try to get them entwined into anything when they're standing around our car and our trailer and things to be like, oh, I want to go back to the track next week. I do parades. I was just in we call it the Peach Fest Parade. It's pretty big in our town. We have a peach water tower. There's only 2 in the U.S. So around the week of the 4th, we do a Peach Festival Parade. The racetrack puts cars in them. Generally, they try to promote the points racers from the year before or some big winner that has won one of the big races that we've had that far. I think we had like 5 or 6 cars in it, and my car was driven in it, and I rode on top. And like it was pretty cool. I was telling people to come to the track. We were handing out candy. We try to do the little things to get the kids piqued interest, and then they'll bug mom and dad to come. And we've had a lot of people show up that way. I mean, it's nothing here lately to see our car counts. With, like I said, so many tracks running on Friday and Saturday night competing against each other in our area. We've not seen car counts below 75, which doesn't seem like a lot considering in the 90s we saw car counts well over the hundreds. But there's the tracks lately here, last couple of weeks, they've not been less than 100 cars at the count. The track and the fans are packed in there. They look like they're sardines sitting in the sitting in the bleachers and everything. So definitely been a great way. But they've enhanced social media, a lot of big presence on all the platforms, uh, TikTok, Facebook Lives, things like that. And they're doing things like we are now, podcasts. I notice a lot of the track promoters and things are jumping on some of the podcasts that are popular around here, trying to get their name out. Unfortunately, if there's some sort of negativity, they're not brushing it under the rug. They're trying to get ahead of it and make a PR statement on it and things. I've noticed a lot of the negativity of maybe unacceptable behavior on and off the track has been addressed a lot more um, strictly now. Make sure we have a safe place to bring our kids to, make sure we have a safe place to come, watch racing and things like that. So kudos to them. I know that's not always fun. It's not always fun to talk about. We want to talk about the wins and the highs, but for them to address the lows and things like that, it just brings some of the newer minds that think maybe different than we did years ago, when it wasn't uncommon to see somebody get chased with a tire iron or a jack handle or something at the track.
Right.
But they're taking that stipulation and that redneck type of view and putting it where just anybody would want to come, because they feel like it's a safe place to be at.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I think if a lot of people just gave it a chance, they'd realize how open armed the whole racing community is as a whole. I've said it almost. I swear I say it every episode, but it's crazy to me how welcoming the whole racing community is. And people they have this stigma about racing fans. It's not always the greatest one, and I wish people would give it a chance just to see the community that it's built around. But I want to go back to the kids, and that's something that's super important to me getting into this, because that's the whole reason I started this whole thing, was because I was laying in bed one night, and I've said this a couple times, but I was laying in bed one night and I was just thinking and thinking, and I've been kicking this idea around for like 2 years in my head of how am I going to get to go racing. Well, then I was laying in bed and I was like, man, how am I going to look my kids in the face and say, chase your dreams, if I refuse to go chase mine? So being able to, and both of my kids love racing, so being able to give them this childhood, hopefully, of going to the racetrack and being around race cars and helping dad work on the car and stuff like that, I'm hoping to give them that fulfillment and that childhood, that you talk about, where they're at the track and running around with other kids or sitting in the cars or, playing with the cars and all that stuff. So no, it's really special, and I think that giving back to the community is a very important of all of it. 100% couldn't agree more.
Definitely. I mean, any way you can give back. So it's not uncommon. I wish I could remember the amount, but one of the small tracks, it's the smallest track we run, is called East Lincoln Speedway. They have a super strict curfew, so they're pretty much Johnny on the spot. But they do a huge thing for like St. Jude's, I think it was this past year, and they raised like a astronomical amount of money for a small track in a small town type deal. And I mean, it was like, I'd hate to quote something incorrectly, but I mean, it was more than $10,000. I mean, it was a significant amount of money that they've raised for a cause. And again, it's not uncommon to see them reaching out on social media for things. So I think we had a local fan that's there all the time or whatever. Unfortunately, they had their house burnt down, and a lot of the people at the track got together and they donated things that were needed to get them back where they were somewhat comfortable until a better situation could be. So definitely, I think of the racetrack as a family. I've looked my competitors in the eye and say, "Hey, I need a ball joint," and they wouldn't hesitate, because they would rather know that I was out there on their ball joint racing against them than sitting on the sidelines and they may be winning because we weren't out there, or vice versa kind of deal. So it's definitely a family oriented thing. Now, granted, when you're on the track, there's no friends, there's no family. But when you come off, it's a really cool environment to be in and know that somebody's got your back if you need something small, or it may be something major through the week. It's constant. We've been fighting some electrical issues lately on the Crown Vic. So I've had people reach out like, "Hey, try this. This is what was wrong with my car. Check this." Or, "Hey, have you had time to check your car? Are you going to be racing this weekend?" Things like that. So, not the normal sports type deal, I feel like, that I've come across with other adventures that I've been in, but definitely reaching out and just checking on us, seeing if we need anything, or vice versa. We reach out and check to see if anybody needs anything through the week. If we go to the scrap yard or the parts yard or something like that, need anything, I'm like, "Hey, I'm going. Do you guys need anything?" And we'll grab it for them and take it to their shop, or they'll come to our shop and pick it up. So Yeah, if you're definitely looking for a super competitive, fun thing to do, where you're gonna have a big network behind you once you break through that gate the first time, right? Dirt racing or racing in general is where it's at.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Oh, that's awesome. I want to back up something you kind of mentioned before. You know, you said your dad was into drag racing. So what made your dad want to get out of drag racing? You know, or is that something you ever thought about wanting to go do? I know you said, you know, when you were little you were on the half-mile track and wanted to do that someday, but was drag racing ever something that you were kind of enticed by, or why did he get out of it?
I was never really drawn to drag racing because something about that just split second and it's over. I needed something that was going to last a little bit longer. So I definitely was looking for, something fast, and dirt racing just seemed to be where it was at. I got to touch the track at least 3 times as long as we weren't hot lap qualifying. And the main event was anywhere between 12 and 20 plus laps. So I felt like that was sufficient enough. I have been on a couple of asphalt tracks and things throughout my career. Nothing spectacular, nothing to brag about, but I got to do something and check it off my list and realize that I was more of like the cold trickle before he got the good advice on what to do, not to tear the tires up. So it was just a lot of money. It caused it needed a lot more support than maybe dirt racing. So most nights it's one person in the garage or two at our shop, and then you might look around at one point and there'll be 10 there. But I feel like drag racing, you're constantly making friends with your motor man, you're constantly needing to make friends with your drive shaft and your rear end builder and your cage builder and your tuner and all that stuff. And dirt racing, at least at the Crown Vic level and things that I've done, it's small, is pretty much good quality type deal. So, 1, 2 people can do it. It sucks to do it with one, but 2 people can do it and get it done, and go to the track and have a blast and be successful at it.
Yeah. No, well said. Yeah, 100%. That's kind of I've never really been interested in drag racing, but I think that it'd be kind of be the same for me. Like it just doesn't last long enough. And it's like
Yeah.
a 8-second hit for the thousands of dollars you just put in the car to try to get a 500ths of a
Yeah,
second
they
off your
don't
time.
yeah, they don't get many passes on those engines
No.
before they have to tear them down and redo 'em, or at least at the level that some of the people around here. Because again, on the opposite side of us is a drag strip. So I'm 6 miles from the dirt track. I'm probably 8 miles from the drag strip. So again, that's something on Thursday nights, like tomorrow night, they'll be testing and tuning. I'll hear them ripping up and down the track, making their passes and stuff. So a lot of my neighbors are pretty good drag racers. They I don't know that they're national per se, but they definitely travel on a big deal. And I'm like, man, I don't know how you do it. And they own like really good companies, like successful logging companies and stuff. And I'm just like, all the money you guys are passing to go, for 8 seconds or 10 seconds, whatever these cars go for, and then you're in the trailer headed back home to spend all that money to go do it again.
Right. Right. Yeah, absolutely. One thing I've noticed in talking to you is you have really good like mechanical knowledge and everything like that. So who works on Moo Thing? Is it you, or is it you and your dad, or you and your husband, or who works on
I
Moo
really
Thing?
wish I could take all the credit. I really do, because I'm a ham, but I do have a lot of support behind me. My other half does, and he's here listening to me now. He's over here shaking his head, but he is pretty much the main one now that works on it. I was doing a lot more with the car when we first started last year with it. But my job has taken me off for weeks at a time here lately with heavy travel. So unfortunately, he's the one who has pulled our team out of the trenches here lately and doing a lot. There were weeks where I feel like that 3 or 4 weeks in a row, we had some terrible crashes and tore some stuff up. And I would leave on Sunday going, there's no way we're going racing next weekend. And he would have like the entire front end put back on the car, ready to go, like on Wednesday, taking video of it, sending it to me while I'm sitting in the hotel room.
That's awesome. That's awesome. No, it takes a village, really. It does. I mean, it's a lot of work. It's another full-time job with these cars. So, no, that's awesome to have all those people backing you. Um, Tell me a little bit about so racing as a whole, and I mean this in like the best way, but it's a male dominated sport, right? And this is something I just like to get perspective on. So, have you had any trials and tribulations with anything with that, or has it been pretty accepting, pretty welcoming? How has that experience been for you?
Well, I always keep it in the back of my mind, especially when we go somewhere new. Like this year, we've been to 8 different tracks this far in the season. Everybody's always been super welcoming so far. We've had some scuffles on the track that could or could not be, because I am a female racer and I do tend to be a little bit on the rougher side. Will admit. But I stand my ground. Like, I'm not going to give you a spot you didn't earn. You're not going to give it to me, and I don't expect you to give it to me. But definitely, I feel safe at the track. I don't feel like anything's going to occur to me that I didn't pretty much ask for or, stir the pot in calls. But everybody's welcoming. The fans have significantly taken to us as a pretty dominant dominant women team here, but I want to see more women in the sport than there is. I don't care if you're working on the car, if you're wrapping them, if you're building bodies, whatever. I want to see women be involved, and I've really gotten an eye, on how much it has evolved just from me being in the sport as a kid. I remember it being kind of taboo to have kids in the pits, especially girls or wives in the pits years ago and things. And it's not uncommon to hear some of the old folks, when they're reminiscing about some of the days back in the 70s and the 80s of women weren't allowed in the pits and things. One of the women drivers that I've raced with were telling me that they got in trouble on an asphalt track because they found out she was a woman signed in. Unfortunately, her name was a unisex name, and they didn't realize she was a woman until a couple laps into the track. They black flagged her and pulled her off the track and told her that she was banned from the track because she broke protocol being a female inside of the pit area and being on the track. So definitely a lot of, forward movement for women in the racing industry and things. And I can contribute that to just the people who came before us and put up with the crap that they had to put up with. But ultimately, growing up with brothers and around my dad most of my time, I don't pay attention to a lot of stuff. But I'm definitely glad to be a part of it. I'm actually part of a race class called Chicks and Vics.
That's
So it's a
awesome.
class of just Vics. Well, there's 2 Camaros that race with us, but it is a dominantly Vic ran class, and I don't think anything but a Vic has won the race so far this year and things. So there are becoming more seats more seats at the table for us in the motorsports industry, and I am absolutely here for it.
100%. And I think that I am now 5 for 5, and I'm always so pleasantly surprised. And my view going into it was like what you see on the national level with Haley Deegan in NASCAR, or Tony Breidinger, Danica Patrick. Like, you see, like, in the big mainstream of racing, you see how some of these females are kind of treated, or how the public receives it and all that stuff. So, like, the first time I asked that question, I was actually really nervous to ask that question because I didn't know how it was at the grassroots level. But 5 for 5, it has been very positive feedback, and there's something really special with it. And you said it. You said it the best, that you want to see more women in motorsports. Well, the only way that happens is for people to take the leap of faith, like you did, like Mallory Kutz or Jaylee Reed, the others that we've had on the podcast, because little girls are going to resonate better with female drivers, right? Like, my daughter, bless her heart, big Joey Logano fan, will never understand why, but she loves Joey Logano. But who's to say, if I took her to the racetrack and she got to see Manda Ledbetter and got to talk to her and hang out with her and sit in her car and all that stuff, that is going to resonate so much more with her or with any little girl, because then they see, oh, there's another girl and she's a race car driver. I could be a race car driver. So the only way that this ever grows, and the only way that this is ever successful, is if we keep evolving in that. And this is just my personal beliefs here, but you have to evolve and have to grow, and you have to be more accepting to everybody. And the only way is for people like yourself and all these other female racers to keep taking the strides forward until that becomes not so abnormal to have 3, 4, 5 girls running on a single class on the track at the same time.
Yeah, it's awesome. Like I said, years ago when I first started in karts, it was not uncommon for me to be the only girl racing at all in any class that night. And now it's not uncommon to see 2 or 3 girls in a front wheel drive car, It's becoming more and more common to see ladies in open wheels, sprints, and late models when they tour around here. They're jumping in the touring series and things. And just in my Vic class that runs at some of the other tracks that are not, I call it a mixed class at this point now. But it's not uncommon for there to be 3 and 4 of us on the track at one time in the same class. So it's definitely, at least around here in the Carolinas, it's becoming more and more, and it's pretty cool because, you know, a little selfish, but it's pretty cool to get to market for some of these companies that put faith in me. And it does allow me to stand out from the normal driver that they see, or the normal person that comes to them and says, "Hey, would you like to sponsor my car?" and things like that. I don't know that I actually have moonlighted any sponsorship at this point. It's all been people coming to me and saying, "Hey, we would like to be a part of your program. We would like to see if we can help you advance your program," things like that. So I'm very blessed there. Now, I don't have any like big, huge multi-million-dollar sponsors, but I definitely have some amazing people who are mostly blue collar workers that say, "Hey, my small business or my medium-sized business wants to be a part of your career and your journey and things like that. Let me help you, and we'll work out some sort of deal." And a lot of times it's just short videos or, like an appearance. I bring the car to something, those type deals that end up working out. And they're super fun because then I get to be out in the public talking about my local tracks and how they can come be a part of that on a Friday or Saturday night and bringing that into the track so that I can keep doing what I want to do.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that quality over quantity when it comes to sponsors is kind of my belief. So if you have a super quality small business sponsor, maybe not a big dollar figure or anything, but it's a quality relationship and a quality brand that you believe in, that's way better than having 55 sponsors that you can't even remember the names of. So yeah, no, keep carrying the torch, man. That's awesome. I'm super glad to hear that. Um, what's a memory from the track or from racing, or any racing related thing in general, but what's a memory that you hold near and dear to you, or something like that, or something that just means a lot to you within racing, anything like that?
So I'm very lucky. I have a couple. So just in general, my dad taking me to the track as a kid and getting to stand in victory lane with some of the guys that he works on, and I actually get to see one of those pictures pretty often. I go by and see a guy in our area. His name is Legan. He builds like racing heads and things. And I go by and just shoot the breeze with him every now and then. And my picture is up on the wall with a pretty much my racing hero as a kid in a stock car. And I get to see that. And I'm just like, wow, how many kids can say they were in a victory lane picture with their hero and then years later got to work with their hero at their job and things like that. So it's come full circle with that. So that's an amazing memory I have. My first V8 race in a Thunder Bomber was pretty powerful. I had my family there. It was like 3 o'clock in the morning. It was super cold. It was like the end of the season. So that was like a bittersweet memory. And then it currently hangs in my living room. I got my first big check when I won a fall final last year. It was called like the Fall Brawl. It was put on by East Lincoln at the Bull. They call it the Bull Ring. Super small track, and I had a blast. And unfortunately, it was a night of an alone. I was by myself. I had no help. My husband was traveling for work. So he was like, "If you go, just be careful. You don't have anybody there." So I loaded the car, hauled it to, up there by myself, unloaded it, set the tire pressure, got the car set up for what I thought it was going to do, made some adjustments after the heat race, and ended up bringing the check home that night. Now, granted, it follows with a sad story because the next night it was a 2 night show, and they talked me into running another class the next night. A lot tougher class, a lot more cars. I had never run against some of the people that was in that class. And I ended up having a pretty significant wreck and totaled Moo Thing to the point where now Moo Thing is in the backyard,
Oh
a yard
no.
ornament. But some of those are some amazing highlights and things I hope I never forget. And I constantly reminisce on those all the time. I'm sure people around here, especially my family, get tired of me talking about it, but definitely enjoyed those memories. And I hope to be able to make many more throughout the next several years that I get to race, I'm sure.
Yeah, no, I have no doubt. I'm excited to continue to follow along with it. I'm super excited to see where all that takes you. But speaking of that, what does the future look like? Do you want to stay in the Crown Vics? Do you want to move to different classes? Do you know, kind of what's the future plans for you in racing?
Well, I've kind of done the, like I said, the bombers and stuff. So, I mean, ultimately, if somebody ever let me jump in one of their cars, I mean, I've had the offer a couple of times here and there. But maybe jump in a car here and there. I would love to try a late model, but I don't think I would ever want to own one financially. I don't think it would be a smart move or anything. Just all of the moving parts, and I've got spoiled with being able to go to the junkyard and the regular auto parts store and things to get all of my parts for my Crown Vic and things. But I definitely have a soft spot for the Vic. It's been good to me. It's been fun. I would love to see this definitely take off and maybe be more of a booming thing, and to be able to maybe go around to different tracks and get women involved in some way, shape, or form, whether it's just showing up and doing an appearance the day before, or like hosting a class, or just something cool to bring the next generation in, or another group of women, maybe starting a Chicks and Vicks class or something equivalent at some other tracks throughout, that could host a race once a month and things for women to come and be a part of. So that's hopefully my future. I never want to give up racing. I never want to think about the day that I decide to hang that helmet up and to not have those race shoes and bags in the car behind me going to the racetrack on Saturday night. But um, I hope to be the 60, 70-year-old woman that's still crawling in and out of the cars if my body and mind allows me to at that age.
That's that's fantastic. Yeah, I don't know if I could. I really want to drive a late model too, but you're right. Financially, it's not a sound decision for me at all.
I probably have the clutch tore out of it before I even made the pit. So
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, fair enough. Well, that kind of is the extent of my questions, but what I like to do at the end of each episode is I like to just kind of open the floor to you and let you, talk about anything that didn't come up, naturally, or any sponsors or merchandise, social media, anything like that. So really, I mean, anything's on the table and the floor is yours. So by all means, Miss Manda, the floor is yours.
all right. So definitely, if you're ever interested in any kind of information about Crown Vic racing, feel free to reach out. There's a lot of good sources out on Facebook. The Oklahoma Vic Racers. I always get the terminology wrong, but Will Avila does really good with his group on Facebook. So there's a lot of good knowledge. But if anybody ever wants to reach out and ask a question, feel free. I'm on Facebook. I'm on TikTok. I would love to grow my TikTok. I'm not trying to be an influencer or anything like that, but I would like for people to have a space to come and see the content that I do. I do a lot in the shop. Sometimes it's quick pace because I'm trying to get a video churned out real quick, but I want to make the content so I can look back at it later. But definitely give the next generation, the younger generation, anybody that may not be 100% certain, the ability to look somewhere for a quick video and say, hey, wait a minute, I saw her take a ball joint out. Let's go watch it real quick. Or if she can build that rear end and put it in, with some assistance of her husband or something like that, I think I can too. So we do odd and end jobs. If there's ever a job that somebody wants to see and they request it, we try to get it knocked out. Been kind of slacking here lately on some posting things due to my full-time job that I do, but definitely if you're on TikTok platform, feel free to reach out and friend me or follow me, and I'll give you a follow back. I don't really have any merch. I keep getting asked all the time for merch, and I'm just like, oh, I'm too indecisive for merch. But I promise the day that I have a T-shirt made, I will gladly post it, and everybody will have the access to purchase and to be a part of our team that way. My little brother's dead set on me getting a shirt made for him for Christmas that it says I support my sister. He is on board for that 100%. He asks me every time we go to the track, so I got to get on it. But another thing is, go to your track. It doesn't matter where you're at. If you're up north, if you're out west, even if you're over all different places. Go to the track. My little slogan I sign off on TikTok a lot of times is, if we want our sport to survive for the next generation, you got to get out and get there. Grab a kid, grab a friend, and head to the racetrack, because without racers in the pits and fans in the stands, our sport will cease to exist for the next round. So definitely go out and support, and be mindful of a lot of stuff that we don't see that goes on behind the scenes, like how the power bill gets paid, how the insurance gets paid, and things. So, pay that gate fee, go sit down, eat a hot dog, watch some racing, and then brag about it on Facebook when you get home the next day or, whatever. So just keep a positive attitude towards racing as best as possible, because I'm so worried that what I've come to take granted is not going to be here when I am 60 and 70 if we're not careful.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, whenever you do get shirts made and everything, please be sure to let me know, and I will definitely snag one. I love supporting all of our checkered roots people who have been on here. So by all means, let me know. But I will make sure that I link all of Manda's social media stuff in the comment section below, so you guys can know where to find her. But that you have anything else you need to get off your chest?
Yeah, I definitely want to give my sponsors a shout out. They'd probably choke me if I didn't, but
Yeah.
I want to thank you for a really big opportunity. Thank you so much for having me on this evening. I hope you get some good content out of this, and I can't wait to see your career. But big shout out to my sponsors: Brown Small Engines, Hillbilly Tree Service, Hillbilly Solutions, Monster Ice, Chekered Chick Customs, and B&M Motorsports. So I don't think I forgot anybody, but if I did, I'm so sorry. But thanks everybody for all the support. And like I said, go out and find a track somewhere and go watch some racing before it's too late.
No, absolutely. Well, Amanda, thank you so much for taking the time to sit down with me. I've thoroughly enjoyed this. I think you have a very, very awesome and impactful story, and so continue to carry that torch and inspire the next generation. And I think what you're doing with all the stuff with the promoting the females in racing, and I think that's fantastic. So a tip of the hat to you, and thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.